Welcome to the wild and unpredictable world of cinema, where the scripted lines often take on a life of their own. Did you know some of the most iconic moments in film history were not written in the script, but rather improvised on the spot by talented actors? So join us as Facts First presents his most iconic movie line was totally improvised. Take the cannoli, The Godfather. The iconic line, "Leave the gun, take the cannoli," from The Godfather was originally only half written in the script. It was actor Richard S. Castellano who improvised the second half of the line after his wife, Ardell Sheridan, suggested it to him. Interestingly, Sheridan played Castellano's on-screen wife in the film. In a previous scene, Sheridan's character had asked Clemenza, played by Castellano, to pick up some cannolis. The improvisation added to the character's persona, making him appear more brutal and cold, as he was laser-focused on the dessert even after committing a murder. You talking to me? Taxi Driver. In a 2016 interview with Today, commemorating the 40th anniversary of Taxi Driver, Martin Scorsese recounted the day Robert De Niro came up with one of the most iconic lines in movie history. According to Scorsese, the scene originally had no dialogue, and he asked De Niro if he could say something to himself in the mirror. He then left De Niro to work through the scene on his own in a locked studio. De Niro eventually came up with the now famous line, "You talking to me?" He repeated it over and over, even as the assistant director banged on the door to wrap up the scene. Scorsese recognized the brilliance of the improvisation and refused to interrupt De Niro's flow. I know. Star Wars Episode V: The Empire Strikes Back. The original Star Wars trilogy is renowned for its cultural impact, with The Empire Strikes Back considered by many to be the best installment of the three. This movie is particularly famous for its plot twist, one of the most memorable in cinematic history, as well as the iconic line, "I am your father." Additionally, the exchange between Han Solo and Leia is another standout moment. Although the script originally had Han respond to Leia's confession of love with, "I love you too," Harrison Ford felt it didn't fit his character. Instead, he improvised the response, "I know," which has since become one of the most romantic and memorable lines in the film. I'm the king of the world. Titanic. During the filming of Titanic, director James Cameron improvised one of the film's most iconic lines. As he explained during a BBC interview, the line was made up on the spot when they were losing light and none of the scripted lines were working. Cameron was in a crane basket and fed the line to Leonardo DiCaprio, who initially seemed skeptical. When DiCaprio asked "what" over the walkie-talkie, Cameron's response was to simply tell him to just effing sell it. All right. Dazed and Confused. Actor Matthew McConaughey is credited with coming up with the iconic line, all right, for his character Wooderson in Dazed and Confused. In an interview, he revealed that he wasn't even scheduled to shoot that day, but was asked by director Richard Linklater. Prior to filming, McConaughey was listening to a live album by The Doors and noticed Jim Morrison repeatedly saying all right 4 times between songs. McConaughey used this as inspiration for Wooderson's character and developed the now famous line based on his character's interests in cars, getting high, rock and roll, and picking up girls. I am Iron Man. Iron Man. During the production of Iron Man, actor Robert Downey Jr. surprised everyone by improvising the final line of the film, which turned out to be perfect for his character. According to producer Kevin Feige, making changes to a script should only be done if it enhances the spirit of the character. He explained Downey Jr.'s improvised line, "I am Iron Man," was a perfect example of this, as it showed Tony Stark's tendency to stray from the script and stay true to his character. I'm walking here. Midnight Cowboy. During the filming of this famous scene from Midnight Cowboy, actors Jon Voight and Dustin Hoffman were almost hit by a real taxi while crossing a street in New York City. Despite this unexpected incident, Hoffman stayed in character and delivered the now famous improvised line, "I'm walking here." In a 2017 interview at the Tribeca Film Festival, as reported by HuffPost, Hoffman explained what was going through his mind. He shared that his first thought was, "We're making a movie here." But then he realized he couldn't say that and quickly changed his line to, "I'm walking here." According to Hoffman, the real message behind the line was that they were in the middle of shooting a scene. Here's looking at you, kid. Casablanca. During the filming of Casablanca, Humphrey Bogart improvised the now iconic phrase, "Here's looking at you, kid," in one of the flashback scenes. As reported by the BBC, the writers were so impressed with his ad-lib, they decided to include it multiple times throughout the film. I need a vacation. Terminator 2 Judgment Day. When the Terminator hit theaters, the T-800 character was known for being a relentless and fearsome villain. However, in the sequel, Terminator 2: Judgment Day, the character was given a humanizing twist with a touch of humor. Arnold Schwarzenegger had the opportunity to develop his character, making the T-800 no longer a robotic antagonist. As Schwarzenegger's career was already full of memorable one-liners, he improvised one of the most amusing quotes in the film. After being severely beaten by the T-1000, the T-800 turns to John Connor, lets out a sigh, and says, "I need a vacation." Here's Johnny, The Shining. This chilling yet incredibly memorable line was improvised by Jack Nicholson. He was reportedly inspired by Ed McMahon's world-famous nightly introduction of Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show. All those moments will be lost in time like tears in rain. Blade Runner. Actor Rutger Hauer was given the freedom to modify his lines while portraying Roy Batty in Blade Runner. He felt some of the lines were overwritten, and in a 2019 interview with Radio Times, he shared that he only kept a few lines of the monologue as written. Hauer believed these poetic lines belonged to his character, who had a sense of poetry and knew what it was. He suggested cutting most of the originally scripted speech and instead came up with the famous ending line, "All these moments will be lost in time like tears and rain." Hauer wanted this line to express Roy's understanding that he has very little time left and to convey how much he cherished life. You're gonna need a bigger boat. Jaws encountered several production and budgetary difficulties, and one of the most significant problems was the frequent malfunctioning of the mechanical shark. This led to Steven Spielberg having to eliminate the shark from several scenes, and that caused delays in the character's responses to the deadly predator. According to Carl Gottlieb, one of the screenwriters, the iconic line, "You're gonna need a bigger boat," was actually something the crew used to say on set in reference to the producers. Roy Scheider, who played Police Chief Martin Brody, tried incorporating the line into his dialogue a few times during filming, and it ended up being included in the final cut thanks to the editing of Verna Field. Gottlieb praised the line for being appropriate and realistic in the moment. This came during a time when the production was facing those aforementioned difficulties with budget and issues with the shark. Mein Führer, I Can Walk, Dr. Strangelove. The lead character of this war comedy, portrayed by Peter Sellers, can't conceal his Nazi belief, and at the end of the movie he jolts up from his wheelchair and boldly proclaims, "Mein Führer, I can walk." The original conclusion varied slightly, but filmmaker Stanley Kubrick allowed Sellers to improvise. Kubrick described his creative method in George Case's book Calling Dr. Strangelove, The Anatomy and Influence of the Kubrick Masterpiece. According to him, Peter had stated he was unable to promise to be able to do the same thing twice, and definitely couldn't do it more than 2 or 3 times. On the day the Mein Führer line was coined, Kubrick had 6 cameras lined up, and no one knew what Peter was going to say or do. Not even himself. Funny how? The intense scene in Goodfellas between Tommy, Joe Pesci, and Henry, Ray Liotta, at the Bamboo Lounge was reportedly based on Pesci's personal experience. During the 25th anniversary celebration of Goodfellas at the Tribeca Film Festival, Ray revealed the story behind the famous "Funny how? Funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you" line. Liotta shared that Pesci had recounted a time when he worked as a waiter and called someone in the mafia funny. Scorsese, the director, was intrigued by the story and had them improvise the scene during rehearsals, eventually incorporating it into the film. You can't handle the truth. A Few Good Men. The unforgettable and oft-repeated line in Rob Reiner's 90s courtroom drama, delivered by Jack Nicholson, wasn't originally in the script. The original line, "You already have the truth," reportedly lacked the intensity Nicholson was known for. During filming, Nicholson improvised and modified the line, making it more aggressive and memorable. His new version became an instant classic. Now it's time to hear from you. Which line was most surprising to find out was improvised? Let us know in the comments section below.